Welcome to today's episode, the podcast where we discuss the most recent installments of a different series every show. Matlock is a 2024 legal drama featuring Academy Award winner Kathy Bates as Madeline Matlock, or Maddie. The series premiered on CBS September 22nd, 5 months after Presumed Innocent, 1 month before Juror Number 2. Unlike those stories, this is not a legal thriller. Am I right in that?
Yes, but also Harry's Law, the show that she came out with like 10 years ago, that one is.
Yes, David E. Kelley.
But there's a lot of, yeah, I know, I saw his name because I skipped through the first episode.
We recently watched a lot of David E. Kelley shows in preparation of Presumed Innocent. There was Boston Legal and Lincoln Lawyer, The Practice, Girls Club. But Harry's Law we didn't reach that far into his most recent stuff.
I remember the ads when it was coming out. It was like 2011, I think.
So when you skipped through that, just to compare the two shows, what was the most glaring difference as far as her character is concerned?
So in Harry's Law, her character is the most like renowned lawyer, and then she has a deep downfall. She gets fired. She starts losing a lot of cases. Here, it seems like Matlock, at least,
Yeah, no, that's very similar, but it's like she's faking the fall, right? Because in this series, I don't know if they explained to you in episode 5 what the overall arc is for her character. She lost her daughter to drugs.
Right, yes.
And so she goes undercover and assumes this alter ego fake identity of a different lawyer. She's already famous as a lawyer. She's very well off. And she decides to go and try to root out the corruption from this law firm by pretending to be someone who she isn't and winning all these cases at the same time.
Well, so that's the interesting thing about the show. My favorite part was that from the previously on, Matlock, the TV series, is a TV series in this. And I guess that she just decided, from what you're saying, to take the name of that famous character and then just decided to start posing as it. I thought when I heard the name Matlock, it was going to be like her daughter or his daughter from the original series or something like that. But no, that was my favorite part about it. I was like, oh, that's really cool how the TV show exists within the series itself.
Right. So Harry's Law, again, she starts off in a rut, it sounds like, but then she starts winning cases, or how does that part compare to this show?
Well, that's when she starts to kind of go, she starts her own law firm, and then she gets 2 other people, Nate Corddry being one. So that is very much like this series because she has 2 assistants that's also working with her in this show. And then, yeah, she has to start, that's more courtroom drama because like the last half of the case takes place in a courtroom.
David E. Kelley really likes writing courtroom scenes. She also, I think, plays like a more Southern character, right? She has a stronger accent in Harry's Law.
I would also say she's more sarcastic as well.
Okay, more, well, she's older now.
Here,
right?
Yeah, because here she's kind of playing the old lady character. At least in Harry's Law, she and she definitely is playing it up. They make a fact of making sure to let you know she's very old. She's like in her 70s in this series.
Well, she's 76 or something in real life. Do you know how old Andy Griffith was when he took on the role as Matlock in 1986?
Okay, I think that Andy Griffith, I mean, he was very old because I only saw a couple episodes.
And you judged that based on just his overall look?
Well, yeah, from the episodes that I've seen,
okay,
I would maybe go, was he like in his late 70s, early 80s?
He was 59 years old. So he was actually 17 or 18 years younger than Kathy Bates is here. So
I was way off. Okay.
Well, no, I think a lot of people are because it was definitely appealing to an older audience. And he aged into the role. He played it until I think 93 or 95. I think he returned to it in 1995 for an episode of one of those, like a Murder, She Wrote or Diagnosis Murder, one of those other shows. And yeah, his later career is really defined by that character. In the same way, I think Kathy Bates is using this as her swan song. She's literally stated,
Steve this Martin is like her last role, right?
So you've heard that too.
Yeah, I think that like she said that Matlock was going to be her final role before she retired.
Right. So which of her roles, based on like everything you've ever seen her in, is your favorite?
I'm going to be honest. I think the only thing I ever saw her in was The Office. And
That's
I know
not
true. Well, what else would it have been?
Well, here's a question for you. So one of these roles she originally didn't want to take, but she was in all of these, right? One was the nurse in Misery. That's her most famous of all time.
Yes, I mean, yeah.
The mom in Waterboy. Mama Boucher, I think was her
Okay,
name.
yeah. So I have seen her
You
in
have
that.
seen her in that. The racist in American Horror Story. Remember, one of these is ones that she didn't want to take, and that was in Coven, I think the 3rd season. And Maddie Matlock. One of those 4, she was like, not sure about this one.
She didn't want to take. I mean, maybe Misery. I'm not sure how much horror. I know that that's her biggest role and that she's known for, but I'm not sure if she really wanted like maybe adapt the Stephen King film. So I'll just go with that one.
Nope, she did that one. She won the Academy Award for it. It was actually, I think, the only time that an actor in a Stephen King based adaptation has won an Academy Award. And for the longest time, this is just an offside fact. She didn't believe it, but it came out recently that she didn't think that she'd thanked her mom. And she was very shook up about that. And then some reporter was like, "You did thank your mom." They played back the footage and she started choking up. So that was a cute moment. Other things you might want to know about Kathy Bates.
What was the answer?
Oh, the answer was Waterboy. She didn't want to be the mom in Waterboy but then she's really good friends with Adam Sandler now. Also good friends with John Travolta. And also a publicly defined Democrat, and so it doesn't exactly mix. She's not a Scientologist, but you're friends with who you act with.
Well, going in really fast, just with the constant remakes of old shows, I feel like the next one up, because again, you have Perry Mason these last few years, Night Court, Twilight Zone, Elementary, which was supposed to be again CBS's Sherlock. I feel like the next one that's primed to be remade is Columbo. I feel like that's the next. That's one of the last remaining ones that they haven't done yet.
I believe the creator of Matlock also created Columbo. Not this Matlock.
But you're saying the original.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
He was like the David E. Kelly of his day. Magnum P.I. is another one that's come back recently.
Hawaii Five-0.
But the show, I believe it's, to me, reminiscent of Taken, the movie with, Happy Valley, and 3 Billboards. Why do I say that? Because it concentrates on the parent taking some form of vengeance or trying to get justice for their kid who has either been killed or is in some form of danger. And also, in a way, especially with Happy Valley, taking care of their kids, their grandkid.
Alfie, because Alfie's mom, again, Matlock's daughter, ended up dying from drugs. So yes, they're taking care of Alfie, and we see him in the episode a lot.
So in 3 Billboards, that's a very depressing story, right?
Yes.
The mom's character is very sad in that. Is Kathy Bates as sad, especially in this episode, because I heard that it deals with drugs. Drug overdoses, which is a connection to her daughter as well. She took a case that has someone who's dealing with addiction. Right?
Katya in the episode. I would say that I wouldn't say Frances McDormand's character in 3 Billboards Outside Missouri is the same, or really there's any connection between her and Matlock, because Matlock seems to be way more professional. If you remember Frances McDormand from 3 Billboards, she's intense. She's not afraid to get in fights with people. This Matlock may be kind of sneaky. There might be something up her sleeve,
right?
But it's not something where she's ever as just angry.
Kathy Bates can do intense, though. That's kind of where I'm going with that, is that did you know that she was the first actress to have a lead role in a Tyler Perry movie? A white actress.
I did not know that, no.
Yeah.
A Tyler Perry movie? Do you know which one?
Yes. No, I do not know which one. But she also knows, obviously, how to do horror, how to do anger when she plays a racist. She can definitely pull that out. Maybe now she's trying to tame herself down a bit. The biggest twist from this episode, right, came at the very ending, where someone just recognizes her.
Someone knows her. Yeah, it was strange because the episode was playing it like it was a big deal, but
because it could undo everything that she's trying to.
And now that you've explained to me the plot, because I didn't get that from the 5th episode, it just seemed like she was someone who was part of.
So you literally thought her name was Maddie Matlock.
Yeah, I thought that she again, I knew that the TV series existed here, but I thought that she was just a normal lawyer. But you saying that she's assumed a different identity is a little bit of a shock.
It's not too much of a shock, though, because if you look at other lawyer shows, it's kind of an expectation that's built in at this point to lie, to be sleazy. Look at Better Call Saul.
Yes,
You're rooting for him. Look at Suits. The inherent premise of that is that there's a guy who didn't go to law school who's passing the bar and then sneaking in to be a lawyer and does a good job of it. Now Matlock's joining that fray. Can you imagine a doctor show where the doctor just wings it the whole
That
time?
feels
'Cause
like
they
Catch Me If You Can.
Yeah, but it's more like Doctor Death in the fact that this has happened before and it costs lives and they're never depicted as the heroes, you know? But every time it's a lawyer show, there's definitely a cognitive dissonance that exists between like accepting one and not accepting the other.
I was happy though because I expected this to kind of be a case by week story, and although it somewhat has that, it also has an actual story just in and of itself. Again, as previously on, it seemed like there were things that they were planting the seeds for.
So
Because
give me the like quick synopsis of like how does this begin? How does she get the case? Who is her adversary? And like how does the Tinder date profile, which I think the last time that we saw someone set up a Tinder profile for someone in an episode was in the Kevin Durant TV series. Swagger, yes. I
that
remember
was yeah.
the
couple
daughter
years
set
ago.
up the mom's Tinder profile in the middle of that. But yeah, and she immediately links up with someone. So
Matlock, yeah, she's working on a case against a prison system where guards were abusing inmates. Soon, the team learns Katya, their lead plaintiff in the case, relapsed on drugs. I think she's out of jail right now. The main reason why the episode is called Claws is because where Katya works is like a nail salon. But yeah, they learned she did drugs, and when Katya's connection to a drug dealer surfaces, the judge denies a subpoena, and Matlock is tasked with Olympia of having to find a new plaintiff for the case.
A bit about the clause thing. I hear that it was not only the place that she worked, but also when Maddie goes in there, she admits to Alfie, her grandson, right? That she had made fun of his mom, her daughter, for for having nice nails at her prom. And she called them claws. And so that like there's a direct emotional impact to the title as well.
And here, I mean, also Matlock ends up getting these huge like nails
Wait,
at
for
one point
real?
in the episode. Yeah, she does get her
Does
nails
that help
done.
with her case?
No, she's having trouble with it. It was only for one quick scene.
I thought this is how they paid her, maybe like a pro bono. And
A huge thing about the episode, and it was probably my favorite part, was when they were focusing on the case by week because they try to start finding a new plaintiff, but all the plaintiffs are scared to talk about the prison system because they're afraid that something similar is going to happen to them.
right. So this is all a class action suit, and the former inmates are just intimidated by the private contractor. And even though they want, I guess, not only justice, but they want payment. I would assume that's what a class action suit usually brings. How does Kathy Bates' character go about winning this thing?
So a video links the prison's new warden because they learned that it wasn't just like a random person that came by the salon that day that gave Katya drugs. This was like a planned out situation, and they learned that it was the warden, a new warden, who was selling Katya drugs, proving it was a setup in order to discredit her and get money from the prison.
So it's like an entrapment thing where that's truly evil. Also, like I don't know why, but I've always thought of like wardens in prisons as like principals of schools where they wouldn't be aware of every single inmate. I guess if that inmate was suing you or like the main witness who was suing you, you would be aware of them. But I never thought like that they would follow your life after you got free.
It came by a little hokey because suddenly like this warden knew where all the cameras were. And so she was wearing a hat and a jacket and like not showing her face, but they were able to tell that it was her because of like a birthmark on her hand. And it's revealed in court. I thought that the resolution to that wasn't as good as maybe the storyline deserved.
Right. But then, so like how many women prison shows? There's Wentworth, there's Orange is the New Black.
Right.
I don't think that they'd spend a law show concentrating too much on making this seem as realistic as some of these other ones or soap operas.
And I mean, like, yeah, when you look back at the old Matlock as well, it's not like what you were watching was supposed to be the most serious thing.
Oh yeah, you know, one of the spinoffs names was like Fat Joe or something like that.
Fat Joe.
No. What's the actual name of it? Let me see. I'll pull it up. Fat Man. So Jake and the Fat Man. It ran for like 6 seasons.
Was a spin-off?
Yeah, and I think what happened was it started off in LA, and then the guy who played Jake and the Fat Man, or the Fat Man, they moved the show to Hawaii, and he lost a lot of weight. and fans got mad. And so it was said or rumored that he asked for them to move it back to LA. But in reality, the network just decided to and sent him back there to finish up the series. Diagnosis Murder was actually, I think, a spinoff of that show, making it so that Dick Van Dyke appeared on Matlock, Diagnosis Murder.
Dick Van Dyke was on Matlock?
Yeah, he played a judge, I think, in the first season who ended up being the bad guy.
So Andy Griffith and Dick Van Dyke actually worked together.
Not only that, after the Andy Griffith show, Andy Griffith, he went on to like the new Andy Griffith show eventually, but in between he went on to a show called, I think, The Headmaster. And on that show, he played sort of a country bumpkin, which is what he wanted to be on Andy Griffith, but they turned Don Knotts into that character at the time. I know all these little facts, but he also starred with Dick Van Dyke's brother, who, because he was the headmaster, but the Dick Van Dyke's brother played the PE coach. And it's funny because Dick Van Dyke's brother also ended up being on the show Coach later on in his career.
I didn't know that they were that interconnected.
I mean, they must have been, because the 50s, the 60s, all those black and white TV shows, I wouldn't be surprised if Lucille Ball knew them and they all hung out at the same parties.
That would be strange. Yeah.
Yeah. Desi Arnaz. I don't know if I could name too many other of those actors from back then. But we were talking about women's prisons and the changes that have to be made.
we don't see a lot of the actual women's prison. I think that the most we get is Matlock. She's interviewing some people that are there, but like we don't get the actual inside of it ever in this episode.
Okay, so the worst it gets is when kind of in like a Shield-esque moment. I do remember there was like a drug. They find someone who was an addict who relapsed.
Yes. Well, there's even a part where Matlock has to go into one of those houses where there's just like almost one of those crack houses where people are just taking drugs. That's even where they find Katya.
But she's alive.
Episode. Yeah, she's alive. But that's where we also get some backstory on Matlock, where we learn about her daughter and how she ended up losing her to drugs. My favorite character, though, because the side storyline is all about the two assistants. Sarah, she's making a dating profile. This is someone that helps Matlock and is crushing on the new girl, Kiri. And my favorite character, Billy, who is played by David Del Rio, who was previously on Maggie, but also on a show that I watched when I was really young called The Troop. I feel like this is probably his biggest role probably to date.
It is. It is.
Yeah, it was funny seeing him. He was my favorite character. He was even trying to help her with the dating profile. It reminded me a little bit of Fast X, where like I think Han was setting up a Tinder profile. That's another storyline that was happening.
But does she even know that this is happening at the same time? It also is like the Charlie Puth show, not exactly, but where in the second episode, Ruby, Gen Z Ruby ends up like saying that he has a relationship with a really older lady.
Well, I think this was supposed to be in complete contrast to a different storyline that's happening. Jason Ritter's in this show. That was surprising to see.
Jason Ritter, as the voice says.
He plays Julian, who used to be with Olympia being Matlock's boss, and I guess they're trying to figure out if they actually want to get divorced or not.
Olympia is also sort of an adversary, right? Like she's not particularly kind to Matlock. And is it one of those frenemy situations where by the end they will get...
From what I saw in the 5th episode, it seems like they have like a little bit of tension between each other, but it seemed like they were friends at least.
Here's a question for you. Yes. So the end of the case comes around, she wins?
Yes, she wins. They were able to get money to all the people that were abused, the women that were abused.
And the cliffhanger comes around and she's recognized, which could unravel everything that she's attempting to do. She could go possibly get arrested for fraud, because you cannot misrepresent yourself.
I think
to
you
that
probably
extent.
would. Yeah.
Like this seems like something that is above like breaking the law. Yeah.
It almost is like Barry in that way too, where it's like someone is able to do law. Barry was able to become an actor.
True, but Barry was seeking like his true self while he was doing that. Like he did not want to be a killer.
Right.
She is perfectly happy with her life. She just hates that her daughter died the way that she does. And she has a passion to find justice. And that's where it feels like there's a conflicting thing with CBS, because they usually like to do the wholesome, happy, fun stuff, you know? Does this show need to lean more into the hokey, the mute? Like, do they need to add an Eli Stone element where she starts singing halfway through, or should they go the other way where they just try to make it more dramatic?
I don't think so. I think that the tone works
it's
for
a happy medium.
Yes, yeah, because I mean, like, really, you can watch this show and it's light. I mean, even the beginning scene is Edwin, Matlock's husband, helping her with a job, trying to go undercover to get more details about her daughter's death. But it was supposed to be played for laughs because he's going into like a company and trying to figure out how to open up an
Edwin,
email.
Matlock's husband. Do you mean Edwin is the husband or what?
Yeah, Edwin's the husband.
Would be Edwin Kingston, right? Because her real name is not Matlock.
I felt like when my problems with the show came with the B storylines. Sarah liking Kira felt like it took up way too much of the episode. It also seemed like a storyline that was out of place. Kira being this new hire that Sarah likes. Alfie, the grandson, I felt his character was unnecessary. It felt like a character who was supposed to be there, so Matlock is more likable, and I understand that the mom had a son, but I just felt like his scenes didn't really mesh well with
they
the
got
entire
renewed for
episode.
season 2, and they're going to shoot it in 9 years when the kid is much older because they want that
Full
was
Happy Valley situation.
They were renewed for season 2, however.
So, but I think that with when it comes to the case by week things, they should really probably, if you want to talk about anything, it should lean into that, because I thought that for a majority of that storyline being the thing that really took up the episode, I thought that was actually interesting to listen to.
So for a singular episode, what would you give Matlock?
For a singular episode, I will be giving it a passing grade, a 6 out of 10. It's absolutely better than Harry's Law, and I think there's potential for the show, but I think that it probably still has some growing pains, because even the storyline between Julian and Olympia just seemed like, at this point, why they seemed so happy together. It was almost like, what's the problem? It reminded me a little bit of Boyhood, where Ethan Hawke's character is such a nice dad, where it's like you're wondering why in that movie they ended up being divorced anyways. And I think I'm the only person who will be comparing Matlock to the Human Centipede 2, and the reason for that is because in the Human Centipede 2, which I never saw, the plot is that a psychopath becomes obsessed with the Human Centipede film, and here Matlock, she knows about the Matlock TV series.
You could have chosen any other. You could have chosen the Scream series or something where every single installment of Scream, which many more people have seen and many more people would understand.
I was trying to find the
up.
craziest connection.
Okay. So it's got a 74 on Metacritic, fairly well received, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes as far as critics are concerned, around a 70 something for audience score, 7.7 on IMDb. My grandma loves this series. And so why is that, if you had to guess?
Because Kathy Bates. Kathy Bates is playing, not only is she playing up the fact that she's old, that's 100% a joke of the series.
So it's like the opposite of ageism. It's like age exceptionalism.
Yeah, I mean, she's even like, fumbling around pills and like trying to make herself seem old. And
is there too much boomer humor, though?
I mean, yeah, probably. I would say so. I think that
but does it go out of its way to insult the younger generations?
No, because I think my favorite character, Billy, he actually had the funniest jokes to it. If you want to say that the jokes, however, the comedy doesn't work as well with this series, I would also say that would probably be a con, yeah.
Was that show that was called Todd something, right? The legal drama.
Oh, yeah. So Help Me Todd, I think. Is
that a good comparison?
I never saw it, so I don't know.
Oh, you never saw it. All right. Little last few facts about Kathy Bates before we end this up. She donated $1 million to Hurricane Katrina victims. So very good person. And she also did her first nude scene at 43.
At 43?
And now that's in your head. Okay. Anything else? I don't think so. We've gone over the reviews. You've talked about the plot. Any other comparisons? Oh, the person who played Katya. I just wanted to say Andra Nikita. She hasn't been in too much, but she was in one How I Met Your Mother episode from season 7. She played Robin Scherbatsky's imaginary daughter. So she has played daughters before.
CBS seems to be leading the charge with this, though, because they also had MacGyver, right? That was a remake of an old show. So it seems like if they do Columbo,
but they went young
with
MacGyver. They went young with MacGyver and they went old with Matlock, which kind of seems like you would do the opposite, make more sense. Like it's like with Doctor Who when they recast.
An old MacGyver, I'm not sure if you could do.
MacGruber. I mean, he showed up in that. That was his son, right? Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode. Hope you enjoyed this one. Bye.
Bye.